Racing's greatest weekend reaches high gear. We're back home again to deliver milk to the Indy 500 winner. Mingling with the jet set to reach the podium at the Monaco Grand Prix and under the lights in NASCAR Valley. One show brings it all together, an hour of speed news. Hello and welcome to Speed's coverage of the greatest weekend in racing. I'm Drew Johnson.
And I'm Connie LeGrand. We start with the greatest race of all, the 90th Indianapolis 500.
Yeah, and winning the Indy 500 turns drivers into legends. I've seen it make grown men cry with happiness. This year, 6 former winners in the field, but at the end, it was the future of the Andretti name versus a 2-time IRL Series champ who hadn't finished the 500-mile race until today. And it was 2.5 miles of you'll never forget racing at the end. We'll get to that in just a moment, but first, the pomp and circumstance. The pre-race festivities, building the excitement. And a great field. A lot of talk about the Ganassi and Penske team. They were in row 1, but you see the Penske guys, Neves and Hornish, squeezing Wheldon out right away. Wouldn't last. Lap 9, the defending champion Dan Wheldon takes the lead from Neves. And then we go on board with Marco Andretti, wondering what the heck the driver of that lap car is doing as he makes his way up the running order. Lap 35. To begin the first round of pit stops, it was all sorted out. Dan Wheldon maintained his 10-second lead over Hornish and Kanaan. Michael Andretti lost all the lights on his steering wheel, forcing him to drive for 14 previous years of experience early in this thing, and back to Marco in 6th. An amazing save, showing everyone he is in it to win it right away. Neves' race continues to deteriorate. Wheldon puts him a lap down on lap 58. 10 laps later, Thomas Scheckter wrecked her, hitting the outside wall and the barrier leading into pit lane. And a scary moment as Jacques Lazier, running over debris from Schechter's car, sends it into the stands. 5 fans treated and released for minor injuries. Back to racing. A long green flag run, including pit stops, with Wheldon in control until lap 110. Neves' day ends in disaster. Tries to go underneath Buddy Rice. I don't think Buddy ever saw him. Both guys out of the race. Dixon takes the lead from Wheldon on lap 125. Lap 126, Hornish makes the pass on Wheldon, dropping him to 3rd. 1 lap later, it's Wheldon back into 2nd, passing Dixon for the lead. And how about Hornish? He wants the lead and grabs it on 129. Would lead the field. Wheldon takes it back on lap 145, back and forth, but it was Dan Wheldon's day for most of the day. Al Unser Jr.'s day comes to an end when he hits debris, loses control, and hits the wall. And pit stops follow the wreck. Check this out. Sam Hornish tries to pull out of the pit with the fuel hose still in the car. Not only does he break the hose in half, runs over his crew member's foot, Hornish would get a drive-through penalty as a result. Would his day be over? We shall see. Lap 173, Dixon gets black flag for blocking Tony Kanaan. Dixon's race over with that penalty. 20 to go. Wheldon and Kanaan both want the lead, swapping back and forth. Both guys, though, would have to pit. Felipe Giafoni crashes. 4 to go. Michael Andretti leads son Marco as Hornish in 3rd. 3 to go. Marco says later to dad. And I thought good sportsmanship as Michael didn't block Sam Hornish. Final lap. Hornish tries to get Marco in 2. Looks like a 19-year-old rookie would win, right? Well, out of 4, it's Hornish. Bye to the Rook at the finish line. 2nd closest finish in Indy history. Unbelievable. Robin Miller with the winner at the Brickyard.
All right, Phil Mickelson had this reputation as the best golfer that never won a major. You won everything in the IRL, and today you put on one of the great finishes of all time. Congratulations, Phil Mickelson of auto racing. You're now the Indy 500 champ.
It's pretty unbelievable. You know, the first thing foremost, I count my blessings every day that God has given me such a great family and friends and a wife that stuck beside me and told me that, you know, I could do it and that you can go out there and win this race. And, you know, I got to thank my other team, Penske, as well. You know, they gave me the car to do it. You know, it was a lot of ups and downs today, but we were fast when we needed to be.
Sam, You had a disaster in the pits with fuel. You had a drive-through penalty because of that. You got run into by Townsend Bell coming to the pits, and you still won the race. Sometimes you think, maybe it's just your day for a change here.
I was so mad about coming into the pits, I didn't even know he hit me. So, I figure you got to serve your penalties when you got to serve your penalties. And actually, I think that the problem with the fuel actually might have helped us out a little bit because it put us in the right position, to do it at the end. Whether or not we would have done it, we'll never know. But it gave us great position, and then we just had to go out there and put it on the line. And coming off of 4 on the last lap, it started pushing up towards the wall. I said, I'm either going to pancake the side of it and stay on the gas to get to the finish line, or I'm going to get around him. So
the lap before, you looked like you were going to try it in 3, and you got balked, and it looks like it's over. I mean, Marco said, I thought it was his race then. Did you think, I'll never get him back? Or it looked like you were running 20 miles an hour faster.
I thought that it was pretty close to being over, but we were just a little bit short. We were a little bit long on our gears, so we needed somebody ahead of us to be able to pull it. So, I got to the inside. He didn't give me very much room, but the kid drove a heck of a race out there. And when he coming down for the line, he held his line once he made the decision where he wanted to be, and he's going to have a lot of great days here. I'm sure of that.
Did you know you were the winner?
I knew at the line that I was the winner, but I didn't know coming off of 4 if I was going to be or not.
Sam Hornish, the 10th winner for Roger Penske, his first victory. He's won everything in IndyCar racing. You can win. Back to you, kids.
Thank you, sir. History books will show Hornish beating a pair of Andrettis at the finish. Andretti Green actually placing 4 drivers in the top 7. The others, Kanaan and Franchitti. Last year's winner, Wheldon, led 148 laps, but faded to 4th, 2 spots ahead of Ganassi Racing teammate Scott Dixon. There's Danica in 8th, followed by Sharp and Mira. Ed Carpenter in 11th was the first car a lap down. Let's hear from the other top finishers.
They showed their speed all month, and it paid off for them in the end there. I think it could have been really dirty and maybe put ourselves, both of us, into the wall, because I could have moved way down to the inside, but by that time he would have already made his move, and it could have been bad. And yeah, I'm 19, but I don't want to wait for next year, man. I really think, I don't know, you can say coulda, shoulda, woulda all day. I don't even want to think about it.
Wow, but bummer, it's like so close again. I feel so bad for Marco. I drove a hell of a race all day long. I was just watching him. I was so impressed. He was patient. He drove like a champion, and I actually thought he pulled it off. He did a great move on Hornish there, and I thought Hornish lost his air enough that he couldn't catch him, but unfortunately Hornish had afterburners on there down the straightaway and got him there in the end.
Former winners Buddy Lazier and Eddie Cheever lead the next group. The other Lazier was 7 laps down in 17th. P.J. Jones came from the last row to finish 19th, ahead of Andretti Green's Brian Herta. And that late race caution brought out by Giafoni landed him 21st, just ahead of rookie Townsend Bell. Now back to Indy for more post-race reaction.
Just wasn't meant to be. We definitely had a car that was fantastic. I think Andy Brown did an excellent job giving me a good downforce level that was quick out front and, good in traffic, and we had that. But even when you have the best car at Indy, it doesn't mean you necessarily win.
If you look in the race, I was there the whole time. I don't think I made any aggressive move up until it was the right time. I think been watching a lot of tapes from Rick Mears and all those guys. I might learn something. I still got to finish, though, the way they did. But when it was time to go, I said, all right, then let's go race. Let's go have some fun. And we played fair and square, and I took off when I had to take off. But unfortunately, the yellow came out and hurt us a lot.
I didn't spin. I didn't do anything stupid. I got loose at 1 because I went too low and got up on the curb and almost lost it. But that's all. That's all I did wrong today. And so, I'm not mad that we're 8th. I am mad that we're 8th, but I'm mad that we're 8th because we were running further up than that. And I think that if fuel strategy would have bit some other people like it bit me last year, we could have ended up 4th or 5th.
Here's a look at the final third. You'll find 2-time winners Al Unser Jr. and Elio Castroneves. It's Elio's first DNF at the Brickyard and his first result lower than 9th. 2004 winner Buddy Rice was next, followed by Thomas Scheckter, who showed promise early. Jeff Bucknam and P.J. Chesson crashed before completing 2 laps. Another page in history at Indy.
The checkered flag is out. Little Al wins by just a few tenths of a you're going to win one race in your life, win the Indy 500.
It's a drag race. Marco Andretti, Hornish, who's going to win at the stripe? It's Hornish wins.
Sam Hornish is the man of the hour, nipping rookie Marco Andretti at the Yard of Bricks to win the 90th Indianapolis 500. Marks the 18th time the race has been won from the pole and gives team owner Roger Penske his 14th win at Indy. You've heard from the key players. Now let's get to some expert analysis.
Let's take you live to Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Derek Daly and Robin Miller.
Well, kids, I tell you what, all you can ever hope for in a 500-mile race is a close finish. This was a fabulous finish between two young Americans, which I think shouldn't be lost on the audience. But, Derek, it looked like Hornish threw it away the lap before when he went down low, got pinched, lost all his momentum.
There is no doubt this is one of the most dramatic days we've seen for many years at Indy. But as it unfolded, it was almost disbelief, particularly when Sam Hornish took that lunge down the inside of the rookie Marco Andretti. Here it is here, down the back straight into turn 3. Hornish goes down the inside, doesn't make it, backs off. What a blunder. We thought it's over right here.
Right, and look how much he loses. So in these cars, if you get out of the throttle, it usually takes a lap to go again. But we saw the telemetry after the race was over. Sam Hornish's last lap, almost 220 miles an hour. Marco Andretti's just over 214. What do you think happened?
Marco backed off. I believe he thought it was comfortable. I believe he thought he had it won. I think he came through turn 4 slower than he could have, and Sam couldn't believe his luck.
I think you're right, because Marco said afterwards, I wish I could do turn 4 over again, because I think he said in the short shoot, I thought I still had the race, but Hornish's closing speed was so amazing, and he smoked him. And he came up so fast when I'm coming out of 4, about sucked his tear-offs off, because I don't think Marco had any idea it was that close. And like we said, if that would have been Mario or Michael, there would have been a hell of a crash here, because somebody would have blocked somebody.
And actually, that wasn't the big storyline. The big storyline was Dan Wheldon, who dominated this day. And about 20 laps before what we just saw, Wheldon and Tony Kanaan were absolutely going at it as if they were going to decide who won the Indy 500.
Well, Derek, you think about Wheldon leads 148 laps. He goes out and has 12-second leads all day like it's nothing. And you're thinking, holy mackerel. I mean, who's going to tough this guy? Even Sam didn't look like he had much for him. Then everything started backing up a little bit. The race came back to these guys a little bit. With 10 laps to go, you're thinking Tony Kanaan's going to be the winner of this thing, because he's out in front. All he wants is anything but a yellow, because everybody has to make a pit stop there at the end, and he's just going to have a splash and go for no tires. But he gets the yellow, he gets shuffled to the back, and the guys that already had their fuel stops, like Sam Hornish and Michael and Marco Andretti, were sitting in the catbird seat.
And that's the key. All the time this video was playing out and the race was playing out, Hornish had come out of sequence because of a mistake they made in the pit lane, and he was just poised, ready to pounce when all these guys peeled off to make the last pit stop, and he began to smile as they peeled away, and suddenly the race began to unfold in, Robin, you have to admit, dramatic fashion. You could hardly hear the engines for people screaming here as it unfolded.
It reminded me of Mears and Johncock in '82. That was what the noise level was like. And I think what you got to remember is, you give a tip of the hat to Marco and Michael. Michael said, this kid is ready for Indy, and I said, you're pushing him too much. A lot of people were saying, this kid's not ready. Well, believe me, he's not only Rookie of the Year, becoming the third Andretti member of that family to be Rookie of the Year, but he's one hell of a race driver for 19 years old.
He almost lost it early in the race, but he showed patience and discipline. What does Mario tell you to have at Indy?
Patience and discipline.
Exactly.
Something you didn't have. Well, he did.
Something you still don't have.
He just didn't have that good a car. That's what happened.
Okay, guys, we'll be back for more.
Don't wander off into the snake pit just yet. We'll check back in with you later in the show, guys. See you then. All right, the IRL IndyCar Series Championship fight remains a Penske-Ganassi affair. Elio leads Sam by 12 points. Wheldon is 17 behind the leader in third, with teammate Dixon in fourth. 2004 champion Tony Kanaan completes the top 5 as the series heads to the road course at Watkins Glen next Sunday. For most of the day, it looked as though Dan Wheldon would win his second straight Indianapolis 500. The Englishman leading 148 out of 200 laps, but was unable to close the deal, leading the way for Sam Hornish Jr. to win in dramatic fashion. And let's take one other look at it. Wheldon ran strong for Chip Ganassi all the way from that start position. Pit strategy, though, catching up at the end. Restart with 4 to go. Michael Andretti leading son Marco and Hornish. 3 to go. Bye-bye, Dad. Just great stuff for the fans at Indy to watch all across the world, actually. Hornish tried to pass once, and then out of turn 4, gets him right at the finish line. Second closest finish in Indianapolis. Let's hear more from the winner.
We just had to go out there and put it on the line, and coming off a 4 on the last lap, it started pushing up towards the wall. I said, I'm either going to pancake the side of it and stay on the gas to get to the finish line, or I'm going to get around him. He didn't give me very much room, but I mean, the kid drove a heck of a race out there. And, you know, when he coming down for the line, you know, he held his line once he made the decision where he wanted to be, and you know, he's going to have a lot of great days here. I'm sure of that.
To be honest, even in the middle of 3 and 4, I still thought I won the race. I knew I was going to have to block him. But man, I don't know where that speed came from. We need to find it.
Came up short again. I mean, the Jim Beam Vonage guys did a great job in the pits with the strategy, and almost pulled it off. I mean, that close. Just 1 or 2 more laps of yellow, and we probably would have won the race.
In all honesty, we had everybody covered today. It's just incredibly disappointing. I think this is one thing that makes this is one reason why the track is, you know, it's so exciting, because it's a long race. Anything can happen, and unfortunately, I was on the wrong end of it today.
All great to watch. We go back out live to Derek Daly and Robin Miller.
All right, gentlemen, start your ranting.
Derek, you know, Michael Andretti with 4 laps to go is leading this race, and here's a guy that hadn't driven a race car in 3 years, and we're thinking he's going to finally get this thing done.
He was fortunate because it began to fall his way. He didn't really have the speed to run with the front runners earlier on. But the Andretti name was sure in the headlines again, particularly with 15-year-old Marco. That's what he looks like.
And you see Marco passing Michael on the outside, kind of like when he passed Rick Mears back in '91, and you're thinking, my God, this kid's not only going to be Rookie of the Year, he's going to be the Indy 500 winner at 19 in his first start, and there is no Andretti curse. And I just think I'm just so impressed with how mature this kid was all month. He never put a wheel wrong.
Never put a wheel wrong. There's the key move that almost blew it for Hornish. But I think Marco will regret what happened on that last lap. I think he's going to watch the videotape, and he's going to deep down, quiet moments in his own bedroom tonight say, I blew it. I went too slow in the short shoot and in turn 4.
And somebody that's going to feel like maybe the race was ripped away from him is Scott Dixon, who had a really fast car. He had the fastest lap of the race at almost 222 miles an hour. Gets black flag for blocking, and we saw it. I mean, he almost forced Tony Kanaan into the grass, and I think he was warned once, and the second time is when they called the penalty.
And it's hard to fault Brian Barnhart for this penalty, because in fairness, he did make it very difficult on Tony Kanaan, and he was forced down the pit lane. How frustrating was that, because he was every bit as quick as Dan Wheldon, and actually he was the fastest car on the racetrack the whole day long. He might have been robbed.
Well, and I think he's going to look back and say, you know, why did I block him in that early? That's something I didn't need to do at that point. And you just hate to see anybody's race. It's like an NBA game or something. Don't take it away by an official's call. And they got a reason to be upset, but he also got warned, like you said. And somebody that kind of fell through the radar today that probably drove a much better race than she did last year, and she admitted it to us after the race, Danica Patrick drove a hell of a race, passed both Andrettis in 2 laps, smoked on the outside of Dario Franchitti, got all the way up to 5th on her own. She got caught out by a bad pit stop with the yellow at the end.
And she has enormous support here at the Speedway. Every time she made a pass, particularly a hairy, scary pass, people would just jump up and cheer. But midway through the race, or certainly 3/4 of the way into the race, many people began to believe this girl is doing a better job than she did even last year. And remember, she's in the Panos chassis. Everybody was in the Dallara, the preferred chassis. So she did not, I think, have the car that made everybody that was as comfortable as everybody else.
What I'd like to end with is this. All these people out here say she hadn't won a race yet, she's not a driver, she's a sideshow, have no clue about auto racing. This kid's a real race driver. Is she going to win a race this year? I don't know, but she put on a hell of a show today.
And still very early in her career. Thank you, guys. And read more from Robin on SpeedTV.com. And now let's check more racing action from Indy. We start with Friday's Freedom 100 for Indy Pro Series cars at the Speedway. Wade Cunningham looking to become the 4th straight driver to win the race from the pole. Jay Howard challenged him in the turn 1. Last lap, Cunningham takes it back between 3 and 4, leads all 40 laps, and gets his second series victory.
All right, USAC National Midget Series, night before the 500, Indianapolis Raceway Park. Speedy team Brian Clausen, Josh Wise starting up front. Wise driving that 20 car for Tony Stewart. Restart on lap 3, and it's Bobby Santos gets by Wise entering turn 1. Lap 16 is where we find Stephanie Mockler started at 15th. We move up to 6th, passing Wise and Dave Darland. Bobby Santos posting his second consecutive series victory. Mockler would finish 3rd behind Ron Gregory.
Brian Tyler plays giant killer at Saturday's Little 500 sprint car race on Anderson Speedway's quarter-mile pavement. Tyler stopped Eric Gordon's streak of 5 straight in the grueling 500-lap USAC event that starts 33 cars in 11 rows of 3, just like at the big track. Gordon was 2nd, Tony Elliott 3rd.
And insurance issues resolved. Friday's 54th Hoosier 100 at the Indiana State Fairgrounds goes on as scheduled. Teammates Josh Wise, Levi Jones, they would start up front and put on a show Friday. Levi gets the lead in 1. Don't let the grandstand post spoil the view there for you. Jones dominated exactly 99 laps, but Wise seeking redemption for last year's loss. And buys him at the turn 3 entry, gets a second career USAC Silver Crown victory. So the greatest weekend in racing, providing us with plenty of eye-opening, spine-chilling race highlights. Time now to take a look back in a special holiday edition of Drew's Reviews. Yes, it's back. And we start with F1 qualifying in Monaco, and we showed you Michael Schumacher, 7-time world champ, but has a history, talking to my friend Bob Barson today, of this kind of thing through his past. He would park his car, that slows Alonso. Schumacher obviously stripped of the pole. Meanwhile, Kimi Räikkönen, hard to see it, but the McLaren Mercedes guys always raising the bar of luxury. Today's car had a diamond-encrusted steering wheel until it went up in smoke, and then Räikkönen going to the yacht right after the race. That's always nice. Fernando Alonso, arguably the best driver in the world right now. His 4th F1 win of the season, stretching his points lead to 21 over Schumacher.
Back home again.
It's beautiful. Nothing reminds me of home quite like the traditional Jim Neighbors rendition of Back Home Again in Indiana. Scary moment, though, here as debris flies high in the air into the stands. We're glad to report that 5 people got checked out and were okay after that incident. And this was pretty scary, too, for Sam Hornish's pit guys, resulting in a penalty for Hornish, but it did not deprive us of a great race finish, the second closest in Indianapolis 500 history, as Sam Hornish just nips 19-year-old rookie Marco Andretti. What a great finish. Everyone here screaming at that finish today.
We were. It was a day of drama in all kinds of areas, and our hour of adrenaline is up and we're out of scripts.
Yeah, what a fantastic day, though, as we said, for racing. Before we go, let's wish a happy retirement to Chief Engineer Alan Shores, who means a lot to this show.
Sure does. For Drew Johnson, I'm Connie LeGrand. Have a great Memorial Day weekend.
For motorsports coverage when you want it, log on to speedtv.com. Wind Tunnel with Dave Despain is presented by CarQuest.
Robin Miller, are you there? It's the great mystery of the night. Will we get Robin Miller?
You got me, brother.
We hear Robin Miller. We see Robin Miller. Now, what's the deal? We're seeing you on the satellite and talking to you on the cell phone?
Well, we caught Tony George kipping. Tony had some wire cutters down here, and he was trying to cut us off because he saw me going live, but we're still here, brother.
We can sort of hear you, and we hear the entire telephone network in the background, but I don't care. I want you to tell me something I don't already know about the Indy 500.
Davey, today was the very first time since 1998 that American drivers finished first and second at Indy, actually first, second, and third. And I think the roar of the crowd told the story for me. Yeah, they're going to cheer for a close finish anyway, but you got a heartland hero like Sam Hornish from Defiance, Ohio, beating a third-generation kid like with an Andretti name, and I just think the cool-down lap, the volume of cheering was just amazing, because I think this is what these people, I hope Tony George and Kevin Calcoven were sitting up in Tony's suite watching this and listening to this, because this is what American open-wheel racing needs, American heroes.
Let me explain to the people who have just joined us that we do have a connection problem with Robin. I saw better coverage from Baghdad than we're getting right now from Indy. But the point is, we've got you. So let me ask you a hypothetical question. In the old days, Al Unser Jr. is leading Al Sr. with a couple of laps to go in the 500. Is there any way in hell that anybody is going to get around Al Sr. and take a shot at Al Jr.?
I know where you're going, brother. I don't think so. I think, especially if it would have been Mario or Michael today where Marco was, I'm sure there'd have been a hell of a crash, and maybe somebody would have slid across the start-finish line upside down. But I give Marco high marks for racing as clean as he was, although I think Hornish got going. It was so fast going by him in the fourth turn. I think it surprised Marco how fast he was. You got to remember, Sam was 5 miles an hour faster on his last lap than Marco was.
I also remember that you said that that Marco Andretti was being thrown to the wolves. I don't remember all the quotes. Are you eating a little crow with the Andretti family tonight?
With mayonnaise and mustard. I couldn't have been more wrong. I mean, Michael said, you don't know what you're talking about. I ain't bringing this kid up just because he's my kid and I'm not going to have to pay him a lot of money and he's a rookie. I'm bringing him up because he's ready. And I'll tell you, he's had as impressive a month at Indianapolis as a rookie as anybody since Parnelli or Mario Andretti, his grandfather. And I just think that I don't think you can there's not enough superlatives to talk about how heady this kid was all month. And I'm wrong. I'll write that I'm wrong, and I'll drink Andretti wine for a week as punishment.
You know what impressed me as much as anything else about his win today? When he got out of the car and they were interviewing him, he knew that he had missed an opportunity. He knew how many Andretti opportunities had been missed. He was kicking himself for it, and he said, you know what, second is nothing. That was spoken like a true Andretti, I thought.
And Dave, he said, I'm 19, but I don't care. I don't want to wait till next year. He kept saying, I wish I could do the fourth turnover one more time, so maybe his car would have been a little wider. But I tell you what, when a guy's running 5 miles an hour faster than you are and gets sucked into your draft like Sam did, I don't know that Marco had much defense to offer, but maybe he slowed down a little on the last lap because he thought he had it won. I don't know, but what a finish, and that's what, a 500-mile race, that's all you ever wanted, a deal like this is something that leaves people standing up screaming.
Sam Hornish made you look pretty smart. You predicted that Penske and Ganassi will win all the races, and by 6/100ths of a second, he kept you in the game, but it was awfully close. I think you owe Sam one.
Well, and Davey, when you think about it, when you look at this race for the first 125 laps, it's just a matter, is it going to be Hornish or one of the two Target Ganassi cars? Because Wheldon and Dixon had the fastest lap of the race. Wheldon led 148 laps, and you just didn't think. I mean, I thought Kanaan was the dark horse. I did write that, but with 10 laps to go, Tony's leading, and the yellow comes out, and everything changes. And I think that's what's kind of fun about Indianapolis.
It was a terrific day of racing, I thought. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad we were able to make contact with you here tonight. Thanks for all your work all month long, and we'll look forward to talking to you many more times this year, Robin.
Okay, Davey. Good joining you, buddy.
All right, we appreciate it. That is Robin Miller from Indianapolis. Inside Nextel Cup tomorrow, we're going to have Michael, of course, and Kenny Schrader, and Clint Boyer will join as our special guest, 7 o'clock Eastern Time and 11 p.m. Eastern Time, recapping the Coke 6. Let's go to Lou in Warren, Arizona, Arkansas. Lou, where are you?
Arkansas,
Arkansas, welcome. About 30 seconds left. What's on your mind?
I just wanted to tell you, man, that I'm not a particular fan of going around in left-hand turns only and with your foot on the floor all the time, but that was one hell of a finish today.
That was a pretty good car race. Whether you whatever kind of car racing you like, that was a pretty good car race today.
And I did have one question for you.
Yeah, what's that?
Have you got any Danica Patrick bobbleheads?
No, but I'll tell you what. I'll give you a book, Indy's Wildest Decade by Alex Gabbard from SpeedTVBooks.com. Boy, I just barely got that one in at the end of the show. Lou, stay on the line so we can get your address. Thanks for the call and the opinion, with which I agree wholeheartedly. It has been quite a Memorial Day of racing. Enjoy your holiday tomorrow. Congratulations to all the winners, and I'll see you next Sunday.